All right, guys, happy Wednesday. This week I wanted to reel it in a little bit because I couldn't stop thinking this past week about the human cost of this entire situation. This is more than just a nursing student completing her education, having education equivalent to practicing nurses, but being blocked at the end by an exit exam that only prevented her from taking her NCLEX. Based on the Board of Nursing's word themselves, exit exams were used to protect accreditation. So schools would implement exit exams at the end to ensure the students who are most likely to pass their NCLEX on the first time would only be taking that NCLEX, is my interpretation. So through those observations, I ran down this rabbit hole of more truths than I could fathom to bear, and how this not only affects the nursing industry, but what about the human cost? What about the human lives? And for me, it wasn't just about redoing nursing school. It was survival. It was, becoming a teen mom and deciding to have my daughter at 18 years old and saying, I'm going to do this. And then it turning into domestic violence and giving birth to that baby at 18 and then coming home from the hospital just to be stabbed by her father numerous of times. And then he goes to stab my mother and ultimately himself at the end. So he goes to prison. I'm a single mom, working full-time. I work multiple jobs. My mom ends up drinking again due to the situation at hand. She ends up having to go into a nursing home where she ultimately dies, where I placed her in because I thought I would end up with a nursing degree to bring her home and at least care for her if she was at the end of her life. But that never happened. So a lot of things for me come up in this journey. It's not just about the nursing degree, but the human cost of what it took to get there. Mind you, I did an accelerated nursing program. Nursing is already hard as is. So when you say at the end, oh, you don't deserve your nursing degree or to sit for your NCLEX, I find it hard to believe that somebody bearing so much and getting through an accelerated nursing program can all of a sudden be deemed incompetent because of an exit exam, when she's passed everything she needed to that the board requires to become a nurse. So I was going through survival. I was going through grief. I was a new mother. Never saw my daughter. Thankfully, I had the support I did at the time to work as much as I did and put myself through school. And I'll never have that time or that support back in my life because everybody has died that helped me. So it's not just easy to redo school. I can't go back to that time in my life and just redo it. The poverty I had to overcome to even get there, people think going to school is so easy. You can just walk right into school and you can get some financial aid and it'll be fine. Not everybody qualifies for the same financial aid if they qualify at all. And then a lot of accelerated programs, especially in nursing, will tell you not to work because it is so hard as it is. So it's not as easy of just, going back to school, nowadays you have to work. And life has just changed. It's just not possible to redo that. I don't think I can get my time back for that, to start from the beginning. If I had, my license, then I could bridge and take little steps into furthering my career, which would be much easier and cost effective than redoing the entire thing. The labor I even put into my nursing education, those 1,500 hours plus. Remember, those 1,500 hours only accounted for what was on my transcript, not what I endured after. Not coming to that school every day, not preparing for my NCLEX, not the exit exams or anything of that from, what was it, like about August, September to October, all the way up until January. All those hours were unaccounted for. The hope I had into bettering my future and not becoming a statistic. At that time, I did not want to remain on welfare for the rest of my life. I wanted to support myself. So when I hear, the news and the Trump administration saying, we want to decrease unemployment rates, we want to crack down on welfare and all of these things, but at the same time, I'm looking through a lens where, what about people like me who are just stuck in the gaps, who want to be working, who want a decent enough job to be able to support themselves entirely, but are blocked from doing so? What do you do for us? The trust I had in the school to guide me correctly, when they say, oh, well, you failed this exit exam. Well, where was the remediation for that so that wouldn't happen again? Where was that ladder building me up so that didn't keep happening? If I failed the first time, why would I pass the second, third, or fourth if nothing has changed? If I don't know what I'm doing wrong, if I don't know how to answer the questions, And the exhaustion that takes place over time going through this redundant, infinite cycle of nothingness, If you fail that exit exam, it leaves you in this redundant cycle of, it's like this never-ending loop. Like I'm not getting anywhere. Like it just feels like a rat race. And then just for it to turn into litigation, I feel like, how did an ordinary person end up here? And what about everybody else we don't know about, their stories? When you hear about a teen mom, domestic violence, poverty, health issues, whether they're personal for me, mental health, or my mother dying, an accelerated nursing program, having to work multiple jobs just to stay afloat and put herself to school and sacrifice that time with her new baby to better her future, to getting into a car accident and being disabled, to years later still fighting for that same nursing degree, it makes me look at the situation much differently. I don't think this is someone refusing accountability. I don't think I should be accepted into a school as a C student if I can't leave as a C student. I think this is somebody questioning, why years of completed labor, free labor, suddenly became disposable. And people ask me all the time, well, why don't you just redo it? Just redo nursing school. Just repay for it. Why? Why should I co-sign bad behavior? $30,000, come to find out, is on the high end for a nursing program. Those student loans, they don't just disappear. So to say I have to take into consideration double of the debt and redoing everything I already did that I already passed because of some technicality and what seems to be, in my observation, is just for accreditation metrics, just for the school's sake, redo it again. It just sounds like insanity to me. Again, that never-ending cycle of this abyss of nothingness. Do it all again for who? Because if I do it all again and I waste more time and now I'm $60,000 in debt, what? $30,000 is a lot of money. The 1,500 hours I put in plus more that wasn't even counted, the sacrifices behind those hours were even greater. And at some point I had to ask myself, why should ordinary people be expected to quietly absorb the cost of systems that never expected to be questioned? And I think that's where episode 20 starts. Welcome back to the nursing investigation. The scariest thing about institutions, I don't think, is power anymore. It's how everything looks normal from the outside. Oh, well, you take accountability. It's your fault. Just redo nursing school. As this institution is banking on millions of dollars off of the backs of students who have put their time, effort, all their resources that they won't ever get back, that they will be in debt for just to end up with nothing, and you end up with everything. At 18, I thought I was signing up for nursing school, not a 6-year ongoing legal battle over an exit exam. The ATI, HESI, NLN, and the board's stance is this can't stop graduation. NLN says the same thing, and the accreditation for nursing. Nobody agrees that high stakes exit exams should be used in this manner. And somewhere I fall in the middle of the chaos. It's almost like a custody battle between mom and dad. I'm being pulled in both directions, and then there's a judge in the middle, and nobody knows what to do. Just imagine how it feels to complete your nursing education, pay in full, and then have an I gotcha moment, as if it was all meant for nothing. Then believe the very people who you trusted in, that institution, just for it to be used against you later in time. At first, I had a dream of, I was once young. The world was ahead of me. Although I was a teen mom now, a single mom at that, very poor, had nothing. I was like, this doesn't have to be my life, Even after the domestic violence, even if I don't look great, even if my scars are hideous forever, or this keeps me from ever having a family in the future, or, there has to be a way to just make it a little better. To build that stability, to have a career, to just put food on the table. I'm not asking for handouts. I'm just asking for what I earned. I'm just asking to support my family so the government doesn't end up having to do it forever. I wanted a career. I wanted to work. How many people do you know that sue somebody so they can go to work? The healthcare system, wanting to make an impact, the things I've been through, the things I've seen, I just feel like I can offer something that doesn't already exist that people need. And I just want to help people. It may sound cliche. Everybody who wants to be a nurse cares about people. They're empathetic. Not always true, but I just feel like there's something I have to do with that. I thought I was building a normal life, All I wanted to do was work 3/12s and have 4 days off with my kids and not worry about, bills. I wanted to give back to the community, take care of people all at once, I just felt like that was the answer to a decent life starting out in the world. I genuinely thought if I worked hard enough that everything would work out. But this is where the tone changes, $30,000, 7 years and ongoing, 1,500 hours that are accounted for, 2 lawsuits, just to be a nurse. Just to frankly do 3 more things than I'm doing now. And I think one of the hardest parts about all this is realizing how quietly and how many people quietly just walk away from a fight like this. How many people have given up and have felt defeated. Whether they were ran through the mud financially or their reputation. how they mentally and emotionally dealt with this, the fear they had. I've gone through all those same things. The trust and the people that they believed in, like the institutions, that they believed this was all their fault, that this isn't a business model. They internalized everything. Not because they're lying, not because they're bad, not because they're incompetent, but because it didn't matter. People get tired. People get scared. People get embarrassed. Or convinced that too much time has passed and nobody cares anymore. I've gotten messages from people over the years saying things like, "It's been too long. I don't think anyone would believe me now." But I think something that genuinely affected your life, and if you feel like you were taken advantage of in some way, and if you feel like there's a bigger picture, it's systemic, more people are affected, and speaking up about this could cause greater good than not speaking up about it, that does that greater harm, matters. And just because other people have moved on from your experience doesn't mean you imagined it. Silence doesn't automatically mean healing or forgiveness. Sometimes it just means people got tired fighting alone. And that's why it's so important to stick together. Facing this exit exam dilemma has, I think, stolen pieces from me and have changed me, because it has opened doors of such broader issues in the healthcare industry, seeing what education in the healthcare industry really is. Are we really putting out competent nurses? Nurses actually very well trained in their clinical skills? Or are we pushing out nurses who can take good tests? The confusion of, is an exit exam equivalent to NCLEX in my situation? No, because you can pass an exit exam and fail your NCLEX and you won't be considered a practicing nurse. You can fail your exit exam and pass your NCLEX and be considered a safe and practicing nurse. Realizing this wasn't just a normal setback. This felt institutional. This felt like a business model. This didn't feel like it had to do with competency. The transcript wording, how do I have equal education to a nurse that's practicing, but where my degree is supposed to have a date and a diploma, it says withdrawn? The barriers that caused me just to not take my NCLEX. There's nothing else in my history. No academic failures, no misconduct. Just a school that didn't want me to take my NCLEX. Why? And a school that wasn't willing to continue to rigorously prep me to make sure I passed the first time if they were concerned. Why? These are questions nobody's ever answered clearly for me. And that's when it stopped feeling academic and started feeling institutional. First, it started with confusion, After I realized, okay, Clarissa, they're not giving you this degree, and there's nothing you can do right now until the board steps in. Who they get their accreditation from says something, so I wait. Nobody ever knocked on my door and said, "Hey, we can't do this. Here you go." So in my mind, I go through years of saving up again, trying to put myself in a position to do it all over, because the school I trusted influenced me to believe nothing I did mattered, because without that degree on my transcript, there's nothing I can do with that transcript as far as being a nurse. So when I go and try to go back to school and I'm showing schools my transcript, I'm being told, why do you want to repeat things you've already done? Why would you want to pay for this again? You're done. Go and get your diploma. Go back to that school. And that turns into defamation, lawsuits, courtrooms, motions, learning legal language. Now I'm not only still trying to be a nurse, but now I have to become some sort of paralegal, appeals, because my claims do have merit. Public records, investigations, bills, politics, and more money, more problems. And then it gets deeper. What about consumer laws, regulations? What are exit exams even? Do I have amendment rights? Why do they want me in arbitration so bad? What is contract law? I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be taking blood pressures here. I'm supposed to be doing wound care. I want to take your temperature. Why am I learning about arbitration? At some point, I stopped asking, why is this happening to me? And started asking, how many other people has this happened to? And it's ultimately put me in a dark place. Knowing what the world doesn't know yet. Knowing what I can't tell you. Furthermore, it's my interpretation that opposing counsel's argument is they're safeguarding the healthcare industry from me. Safeguarding the healthcare industry from me, because what's the worst thing you can say about somebody in healthcare? What's the worst thing you could say about a nurse? Calling them unsafe, making them appear incompetent. Although I've been in the healthcare industry longer than I've known them. And I've never hurt anybody. So how does somebody with equal education to a practicing nurse all of a sudden get called incompetent because of an exit exam? Because she didn't meet the highest probability of passing the NCLEX the first time. Remember, these exit exams aren't necessarily based on an ABCDEFG metric. Like, it's more so your percentage, how you do on it, is a probability of passing the NCLEX. It doesn't prove competency to be a nurse. That is what the NCLEX is for. I can fail an exit exam and still take my NCLEX and become a nurse, because the NCLEX proves competency and gives you that right to become a nurse. I can pass the NCLEX, I can pass an exit exam and fail the NCLEX and not become a nurse, because the exit exam doesn't prove competency. The NCLEX does. And somehow, we're at episode 20 and the appellate court, which I'm hoping in the next few weeks I can give you an update in real time. I thought I was pursuing nursing. I didn't realize, I was documenting a system. Nonetheless, what I believe to be oppression of an institution walking over people like me. I think the biggest thing I've learned through all this is how quickly your entire life can change when you ask one question nobody wants answered. Because as long as you follow the path that's already been laid out for you, nobody notices. Nobody questions you. Nobody pushes back. But the second you stop and ask, wait, why does this work this way? Why are we doing it like this? Who made this rule? What does this even mean? You realize how uncomfortable people become when systems are challenged, especially fragile ones that have no logical meaning. Not because questioning something automatically makes you right, but because questioning something at all makes you a problem. And I think that's the part nobody prepares ordinary people for. One question that can change the trajectory of your life, your career, your finances, your reputation, your peace, your entire direction in life. I thought I was pursuing nursing, and maybe I am. Maybe I still am. Maybe I will be the best advocate for nurses there is. Let's do some questions and comments from this week, but I included their names today because they need to know they matter and their stories still matter. Whether it's been 2, 5, 10 years, their stories matter. Because they should be nurses. Emily is 32 and she's a single mom of 2. She said it's been 5 years since she has completed her nursing school as well. Her nursing education is equivalent to a nurse, but didn't meet the highest probability of passing the NCLEX on her first try. So she was unable to take her NCLEX. She didn't meet the benchmark by 1 percentage point. She says, at this point, I feel stupid for even bringing it up anymore. She has gone on to remain on welfare, live on Section 8 housing, and is on complete government assistance because she put everything she had into her nursing education. And throughout that process, her relationship failed, and she doesn't hear from the father, has no idea where he is. She became responsible for these 2 kids, didn't get a career out of it, put herself in a bunch of debt, and just ended up in a bad cycle she couldn't get out of. Like that infinite, endless loop of nothingness we were talking about earlier. Jasmine is 27. She recently divorced and is working 2 jobs now because she also didn't meet the highest probability of passing her NCLEX on the first time, although she completed her nursing education and wasn't able to sit for her NCLEX. She says, people keep telling me to just move on, but they don't understand how much it changed my life. Nicole is 30, and she deals with chronic health issues. So she put herself through school to get good benefits, to get health care, to learn about her own body, to take care of herself, to live as long as she can. And she says she stayed quiet because she thought nobody would believe her over an institution. Kayla is 25, and she would have been a first-generation college graduate. She went to nursing school right out of high school. She also wasn't able to take her NCLEX because of an exit exam. The worst part is questioning whether what happened to me was even real because everyone around me acts like it's normal. Brianna is 29. She's a mom of 1 and a caregiver to her father. I just wanted to take care of him so he didn't die in a nursing home alone. I don't even care about the money anymore. I care that it altered the entire direction of my life. And honestly, guys, I think this is the part that people underestimate, the human experience. And this isn't about somebody flunking out of school. This isn't about an academic failure. This is about oppression. This is about injustice. This is about people who pay a lot of money to invest in their career. And they do that, remember, everything is complete. But when a school imposes, through my observation, my understanding, and my interpretation, an arbitrary exam for their own metrics, to keep students from ever sitting for their NCLEX with the education they have on file, what does that do to somebody? Sometimes the hardest thing to carry isn't even the situation itself. It's the feeling that you're the only one affected by it years later. Because the school moves on, right? New students take your spot, and they continue to just pull in hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars, walking over people like me and you. They're living a fancy life. They don't have to worry about the bills. They don't have to worry about their next meal. They don't have to worry about government assistance. And they from my understanding and what I have reviewed, make it seem like to me that they are protecting the world, the healthcare system, the community, the public. But I can't help but wonder why so many of the people harmed felt completely unprotected themselves. So I appreciate you guys watching this one. I like to stick to a lot of investigative work, the legal parts of it, just break it down fact by fact and stick to that stuff. The journalism side of things, but I also feel it's important to connect with you as human being to human being. So I appreciate you watching this one. This one may have been more like a therapy session that was much needed for episode 20 because I did not think I would still be here, but we'll probably still be here at episode 100, and I can't wait to see you then. So until then, stay on the side of right and truth. Nothing that costs you was from God to begin with. Bye, guys.